Share shouldn't go. Only 57, you know.
We are live already. We are live.
I believe when you start.
We can start in 2 minutes. 2 minutes. 2 minutes. We can start in 2 minutes.
Everybody is coming in.
There are 2 people.
This person here. Where am I going to Hello, everybody. This is Patrick Liu here. Welcome to our webinar. The purpose of this webinar is to address some of the key issues that are facing us today. Many of you have asked me about these key issues recently. The key issues are increasing inflationary and interest rates and the volatile, if I may also add, turbulent market, and how you and I should respond to them. This webinar is targeted at every working adult. So I want to deal with this issue on a holistic basis, as well as business owners and investors, including property investors. First of all, let me go through the outline. We will be covering inflation, why the recent spike. I think it is important to find out what are the sources of the increase in inflation. If you and I know the sources, we would be able to have some idea of whether the inflation can be tamed, whether it will go up, go flat, or go down within the near future. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of inflation and how we can deal with this. What are the investment strategies to deal with inflation and the strategies for increasing interest rates? How should we respond to these challenges? We're going to go back to basics take a step backward and see how you can lay a strong foundation so that you can achieve a stable, secure, and sustainable results. We'll look at the opportunities and the challenges of the crisis we are facing and perhaps other crises that will face us in the near future. And at the end, I would cover strategies for a volatile market. Why the recent spike in inflation? I think predominantly it has to do with the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic has affected effectiveness and efficiencies of many companies and organizations. It has caused production of many goods to go down. The pandemic has also created disruption of the supply chain. For example, some of you would know that our company, we are helping two tribal villages. During the pandemic, they had problems selling their tea and coffee produce. And so we got our team together to help them to sell their tea and coffee through direct selling and e-commerce and offer them 100% of the proceeds. Third, fiscal and monetary stimulus. To deal with the pandemic, many developed countries introduced multiple fiscal and monetary stimulus to support the economies as well as protect employers, businesses, families, and individuals. Some of the advanced countries resorted to printing money, literally printing money. They pumped up liquidity in the market and it had an effect on inflationary rates. Fourth, the Ukraine war. Russia and Ukraine, in case you don't know, exports nearly a third of the world's wheat and barley and more than 70% of its sunflower oil. They are also major suppliers of corns. Russia is also the top global fertilizer producer. The disruption in supply of these essentials have a cascading effects on many food items. Russia is also a major supplier of oil and gas, especially to Europe. Natural gas is the main source of energy for many European homes and industry, and 40% of it comes from Russia. And we know they are going into the winter season, and so there are going to be major challenges in many homes and to many families. And in a way, that's why electricity prices is going up across the developed world because of the use of fossil fuel in the power station. Fifth, price gouging. What is price gouging? Price gouging refers to when vendors and others take advantage of spikes in demand by charging exorbitant prices for necessities. And there are signs of price gouging during the pandemic and other recent crises, of course. Unethical vendors are also capitalizing on the opportunity to create cartels and corner their markets. Last but not least, there are many other factors that have contributed to increasing inflationary rates. And these factors include the US-China trade war, which is more than just a trade war. It is an ideological war, it is an economic war, it is a military war, it's a spacefaring war, and in many sense of the word, it's an Arctic war because of what's going on in the melting of the ice in the Arctic. These factors also include climate change and deglobalization. These forces have reduced supply of many goods and in a way contributed to an increase in the prices. Now, the good and bad news about inflation, depending on how you look at it, is that it is affecting almost every country in the world today. And there are too many factors that are beyond human control. Now, what's the key for us is to ring fence ourselves from the challenges and then capitalize on the opportunities around us. Let me go through the good, the bad, and the ugly of inflation. Most people only see the bad and the ugly side of inflation. Actually, there's some good, in terms of the inflation. Because one of the worst enemies is not just inflation, it's actually deflation. If prices of goods start coming down, many consumers are worried about buying things because they are worried their prices will go down even further. If they hold back their purchase, then naturally it will affect many companies selling these goods, and in a way, in a bigger picture, it will affect the economy. And this will drive higher interest rates for many of the long-term fixed rate. There's also debate, includes reducing purchasing power. Just today, I was complaining because I'm doing a course on how people can manage their money wisely. And one of the things I do is I buy my lunch directly from the supermarket. And what used to cost me $5, today they have just increased it to $6. And the price list still show $5. There's a declining business and investor confidence, and there's falling prices on long-term. Um, Sorry, let me make some adjustment because I can't see the slide. Let me look at what the I can't see the slide. Can you make some changes to this? Yeah, long-term fixed debt, and is driving volatile currency exchange. Of course, the ugly side is that it affects quality of life. It put unnecessary stress and pressure on individuals and families, and it increased uncertainty and unpredictability. As a result, it caused social instability. So what can we do about it? What are some of the investment strategies for inflation? Let me just cover some of the foundational strategies. First of all, asset allocation. Asset allocation refers to how you invest in these different baskets of assets or different baskets of instruments according to different percentages that will be able to best protect you, in case any of these winds of change will cause any of these assets to go against you. Secondly, dollar cost averaging. Dollar cost averaging refers to buying into an instrument that is either going down or going up so they can average the cost of your investment. Let me give you an example. I'm not the greatest fan of Bitcoin, but when Bitcoin dropped to almost very close to the cost of minting a Bitcoin, in North America, it costs about $20,000 to mint Bitcoin. So I went in at almost $20,000. And of course, we all know that it went below $20,000. I put in some money to average my losses. And I know that I am quite close to the bottom unless people are selling it below cost. And I believe that the upside potential is still quite good. Number 3 refers to bond laddering. What is bond laddering? Bond laddering is an investment strategy that involves buying bonds with different maturity dates so that the investor can respond relatively quick to changes in interest rates. It reduces the reinvestment risk associated with rolling over maturing bonds into similar fixed income products all at once. I think this is a strategy that also applies to people putting their money into fixed accounts. They try to stagger the maturity rate so it will not affect their cash flow. It will not affect their liquidity in case they need it, during hard times. Fourth, exposure to interest rate sensitive instruments. So there are many different ways to invest. There are bonds, for example, that are pegged to interest rates. So they go up or go down in tandem with the consumer price index. So when you invest in such instruments, when inflation go up, generally your returns will go up at the same time. I don't have a license to advise you on what to invest in, but you can go and talk to a financial planner or a banker, and they'll be more than happy to show you some of these bonds, for example. And then there are assets that benefit from increasing inflationary rates, such as commodities, gold, silver, and real estate. I know some of you will say, but Patrick, you are a fan of property investment, and that's why you put real estate there. But please don't believe me. If you go and Google investment strategies for inflation, usually people will recommend investing in real estate. Why? Because over time, the labor costs will go up, construction material will go up, building works will go up, and generally, real estate is a good hedge against inflation. And so there are also many other variety of metals, plastic, raw materials and chemicals that are used in the electronic industry. And electronic industry is a necessary industry, especially in the fourth industrial revolution. And some of the more common metals include copper, lithium, tin, silver, gold, nickel, and aluminium. And if you're interested in investing in materials that support the semiconductor industry, and these materials are segmented by types of material. They include silicon carbide, gallium, manganese, arsenide, copper, indium, gallium, selenide, molybdenum, disulfide, and bismuth telluride. So some of these materials are necessary ingredients or vital ingredients for semiconductors. And if you can invest in companies or invest in stocks of company that produce such material, they've got very healthy fundamentals supporting them. You can also invest in large cap value stocks, any companies that deal with consumer staples, for example. And this comprises of company that provide goods and services that people use on a daily basis, like food, clothing, or other personal products. So such company have got very strong supporting factors to ensure that they maintain good value for the company. Essential services include healthcare, educational services, logistics, financial services. These are services that are in some way evergreen, and they are needed during good times or bad times, and even in increasing inflationary environment. So what are the strategies for increasing interest rates? One of the questions people always ask me, Patrick, is it better that I borrow on a fixed rate, or should I go for a floating rate, or a combination of both of these rates? Now, I always tell people this is really not the right question. You know, the quality of your life depends on the quality of quantity question you ask yourself. If you ask the right question, you'll get the right answer. But if you don't ask the right question, you will never get the right answer. So the right question is not whether which is a better way to borrow your money. The most important thing is which is most suitable for you. So I'm not an expert in this area, but if you're interested, if you can contact me, especially if you're my student, I'll be more than happy to introduce you to bankers and mortgage consultants. They'll be more than happy to go into details with you. And so just give me a second. I have a problem with my slides. So who are the people, who go for fixed home rates? These are people who expect interest rates to rise, who have a tight fixed budget for a mortgage in the near future. That means you're worried that the increased interest rate will affect your quality of life, affect your cash flow, affect your business, for example. Then you want to be very, very sure. Then you go for fixed home rate. And always remember this. When you have fixed home rate, you are taking a safe bet. But always remember this. The banks and the lending institution are also not stupid. They also want to make sure they are protected. So usually they have a buffer to ensure they are protected. So usually they will charge you higher than what is necessary or what is, the norm, so that they can protect themselves at the same time. Fixed home rate is also for people who want interest rate certainty, as I mentioned, who have a low risk low risk appetite. And these are also for landlords who want to make sure that their mortgage repayments remain constant. That means they don't want to see their renters going up and down depending on the interest rates, basically. And so they can plan a bit better in terms of whether they want to refinance their properties and use the extra money for further investment or even for their business. Fixed rates are also for people who are willing to put in the effort and expenses to refinance property after the interest rate ends. So in other words, every time when you change from one rate to another rate, whether it's home loan rate to fixed home rate to floating rate, just remember this, there'll be a charge on you. So, and if you cannot afford it, then you probably have to think twice about making those changes. Floating rates are really for those who expect interest rates to fall over time, who are unsure about interest rate movement and prefer to go in market rates. And these are for people who are quite savvy. They know that banks have to protect themselves. They are able to, in some way, ensure some predictability. or some protection of their borrowing, and they're willing to go in market rates. Floating rate is also for people who do not want to have prepayment penalties. They don't want to switch to one rate to another rate and then and then end up having to pay penalties for it. Floating rate is also for people who want near-term saving or interest costs, and also for people who have a working understanding of the workings of the loan market and are able to capitalize on changes. So if you are in this business, you understand how the market works, you have some degree of predictability, or at least you know where you think the future is going to be, then floating rate is for you. Floating rate is also for people who have plenty of wiggle room, as I call it, in their finances, and they want to maximize their profit. So as I said, it's very hard for me to detail exactly what you need to do. But if you're interested, I'll be more than happy to recommend a banker if you don't have a banker, or mortgage consultant, and they'll be more than happy to advise you accordingly. Now, how then should you respond? So in my survey, I found that usually people respond in 6 different ways. There are people who float around. They keep doing the same thing. And we know that if you keep doing the same thing, you will always get the same results. You walk along the same road, you'll reach the same destination. There are people who flee, who run away from all the challenges, and they think that by running away, these challenges will just disappear. It's like, burying your head under the sand and hoping that the storm will blow by. There are people who flip flop, they change direction every now and then, they float along with the winds of change, and that may not necessarily be a smart thing to do. There are people who are frozen because of their fears and concerns about what's going on in the market. And some people live in fear about what's going to happen. But I think the best way to respond to a higher increasing inflationary and interest rates and the volatile market is to fight back, is to capitalize on the opportunities and ring fence yourselves against the challenges. So what do we do? Let me just take you back to basics. And to me, the most important thing is you. You have to be well. If you're not well, everything will not turn out to be well. If you're unwell, then you're on a slippery road, to damages and destruction. So look after your body, your mind, and your spirits. Very importantly, look after your body. If you're not fit, strong, and healthy, it is very hard for you to fight back. It is very hard to you respond to challenges. It is very hard for you to capitalize on opportunities. Look after your mental health. The pandemic has caused a lot of challenges to many people, through affecting their mental health. Look after your emotional and social and spiritual well-being. These are important factors that will put you in a better position to fight back and to be able to not only survive but thrive during hard times. And you may have to change your lifestyle, change your environment, change the way you manage your finance. So the question you have to ask yourself is this: how can I achieve overall well-being? And just today, we have a team of our colleagues sitting down together to help each other. They made a commitment to help each other improve our sense of purpose, our sense of meaning, our sense of fulfillment, including having a happy work style and helping each other to achieve overall well-being. Second question that I think you need to ask yourself is this: how can I avoid what I call negative turkeys and energy vampires? I'm sure you've met people, after talking to them for a short while, they suck your energy and then they leave you dry. These are people you should avoid. These are people you should delete and drop from your social network. Last question is this: how can I improve my knowledge, attitude, skills, and habits? And one of the things you need to do is think of how to improve your digital skills, because the pandemic is not going to go on forever and ever. I think within the next 6 months to a year, the pandemic will become really an endemic, and then we will all return back to normal lifestyle. And our world will become increasingly a digital world. So if you don't have digital skills, you are going to face a lot of challenges in the near future. So I have a little slide here, but I have not seen this slide, but I'm not sure whether there's something wrong with this slide. My sincere apologies if this slide didn't come through very well, but in our company, we created what we call my financial view. And so we teach our students to ask themselves, 6 very important questions, to make sure that they have achieved financial well-being. So if the slide is not seen clearly, maybe I'll just read it out to you.
Oh, you want to show it on the screen?
Or can we just take a hold for a little while, and then my
You can
assistant,
show it on the screen.
if you, I don't know whether you can see this. So if you can see, this is how it the wheel looks like. Okay, so the 6th question you ask yourself is this: how can you earn more money? And I believe every person here can earn more money. Okay, even if you are working adult, you have spare time in the morning, during lunchtime, in the evening, and during the weekend. I've got people who started part-time business. I have an elderly lady who's almost 70 years old who started an e-commerce site and selling cakes. And she's making a 4-figure income right now, although it is a low 4-figure income. But remember, it's a part-time business and she's growing. And she believes in a short while time, she will be able to increase her profits. And then she wants to sack her boss. Okay. And so think of what you can do to earn more money, either working, bargaining, negotiating with your employer, providing higher value added jobs so that they will be happy to pay you more money, or finding another job with a better company that's willing to recognize your values and talents and will be willing to offer you a higher salary. Think of how to invest with different people if you don't have the time. And so by working with different partners, you can enjoy a higher income. Second thing is spend less money. Now, why do people spend money? They spend money because they want to be happy. And they think that by having higher or more profit, position, power, possession, privilege, prestigious, they are able to be happy. But remember this, happiness has always been inside you and me. Our Creator has wired us to be happy. In other words, you can be as happy as you want to be. In fact, you should be aiming to be happier every day, asking yourself, how can I be happier today? So while preparing for this webinar, the last few months, I've been trying to use myself as a guinea pig. And fortunately, 6 months ago, I had a leg operation, so I couldn't drive. And my driver resigned way before the pandemic. And so I decided not to drive. I decided to sell away my car and go on public transportation. Then I realized I could save so much money taking public transportation, and it doesn't really affect, my work style and my lifestyle. And more importantly, because of taking public transportation, I can learn Mandarin. So every day, I have a earpiece and I'm learning Mandarin, listening to Mandarin lectures, Mandarin forums, for example. And then by spending more time walking, to the station, from one station to another station, I'm able to achieve my 10,000 steps every day. And so I started by walking, and now I don't take the escalator. I basically walk up the steps and walk down the steps. In fact, I've been running up the steps and running down the steps. I feel that I'm becoming healthier while spending less money. I look at, for example, lunch. I talk to my colleagues and say, is there any way, to save money on meals? And I started asking my helper to prepare food so I can bring to my office for lunch. And then on many days, I will go to the supermarket, and packet lunch from there, eat in the comfort of my office. And then I found that around my office, by walking a short distance away, I can buy cheaper food. And by walking during lunchtime, I'm also, exercising. And after eating, when walking back, research shows that it will also help me to lower the spike in the insulin, and that will also contribute to my wellness. The third question is this: how can you save more money? Fourth question is, how can you invest more money? Fifth question, how can you protect your money? And then last but not least, how can you donate more and more money to a good cause? So if you keep asking yourself these 6 questions, how can I earn more money, spend less money, save more money, invest more money, protect all of my money, and give more money? If you ask yourself, regularly, 3 times a day, you will find many ways to improve your financial position and assets. And so the important thing moving forward is to ask yourself this: what are tomorrow's problem that you can start to resolve from today? What are tomorrow's opportunities that you can start to capitalize on from today? And if you are on a growth path, if you think of what are the things ahead of you, you will certainly be able to not only survive but succeed in a new economy. Now, a lot of people ask me, but Patrick, we are going through turbulent and volatile times. And I ask people this question: when do you think is the best time to be rich and wealthy? Think about it. During good times, everything is all very expensive. More and more people are competing for the assets that you want, and your return on investment actually, dwindle over time. So I always say this: uncertainty is not your enemy. Unpredictability is not your foe. Do you see challenges as opportunities, or do you see challenges as problem? The Chinese have a word for crisis. It's called 危机. When there is danger, there will be opportunities. And you can see this, through every crisis that happened, at least in Singapore, or if you have a chance to look at any economic cycle chart in every developed country, it's the same thing. Every time when there's a crisis, the stock market will go down, the property market will go down, and that's the best time to actually get involved in acquiring good value-added assets at good prices, basically. So think about what you can capitalize upon with today's turbulent and volatile market. Let me just go through some of the basic strategies on how you can respond to a volatile market. So the first one is what we have just mentioned just now: review your financial view regularly. How can you earn more money, spend less money, save more money, invest more money, protect your money, as well as donate more money to charity? Learn to live simply. When I say learn simply, you don't have to compromise your quality of life. Learn to live simply and yet still be able to maintain a good quality of life. And by doing so, becoming happier and happier because you are in better control of your time, your energy, your efforts, and your entire lifetime. Secondly is this: use this period to reskill, upskill, multi-skill, deep skill, and future skill yourself. So if you don't know what you need to learn, just go to the work skill qualification, WSQ website. We call this the lifelong learning movement. The Singapore government has mapped out an entire framework on what are the skills that you need to learn. And in particular, please learn to upskill yourself in terms of digital skills, because as I mentioned just now, we are moving into a digital world. Increasingly, a lot of the commercial transaction will be done online. Increasingly, a lot of communication will be done virtually. And if you don't have digital skills, you will be hard pressed to be able to survive and succeed in the near future. Whatever work you're doing, whatever organization you're in, whatever business you're in, think of how to redesign your operational models, strategies, and operation. As I mentioned just now, if you keep doing the same thing, you'll get the same results. What has helped you to be successful until now may not be what it takes to help you be successful in the future. So, during this period of time, I'm working with my colleagues, for example, to look at every area of our business and see how we can refresh, redesign, revitalize, rejuvenate every area of operation. And you know what? In just the last 2 weeks alone, by looking at all the details of all the vital processes, we were able to make quantum leap, being in achieving good results. For those people who are property investor, look at how to value add to your property investment. Okay, I have a property recently, and by renovating a property, I was able to command a higher rental return. Buy property and rent a house. Some of you have heard me saying this before. The best property to live in may not be the best property, that make money. The best property that make money may not be the best property, for you to live in. So I have always been staying for a long time in rental houses, and I buy properties that I know that will give me the best capital and rental gains. And I will look for areas that has a lot of empty houses. And there will always be areas like this during good times or bad times. And if there are a lot of empty houses, you can go and bargain with each and every landlords, and surely one of them will give you or rent you the property at a very, very low price. Downsize. Okay, this is an option for you. If you believe there are a lot of opportunities, downsize your property so you can unlock values, free up some money for you to invest. Or if you think that the lower end of the market is increasing dramatically and the high end of the market is not increasing in tandem with it, maybe you want to upsize. Take this opportunity to move from a HDB flat to a condominium if you think that there are good condominium units for sale at a very good price. Learn how to fractionalize your assets. I have one student who basically went into some financial and cash flow problem, and she essentially rented out 3 of her other bedroom, while she stayed in 1 bedroom, and eventually she even turned part of her living room into another bedroom. I'm not too sure it's very legal to do it, but by doing so, she was able to generate an even higher income. One other possibility that I've done in a few crises, is to advise people who need to rent properties, or who need to rent properties to either work in it or for their employees, is to negotiate with the landlord to rent the property with an option to eventually own it. So, for example, you rent from the landlord, he bought a property $1 million. You do an option agreement to say within the next 3 years, I have the option to buy over your property at $1.1 million. So essentially, the landlord, the owner, is not going to lose money. If within the next 3 years, if the property price goes above $1.1 million, then you can buy over a property because you already make money. But however, in the next 3 years, if the property prices don't go higher than $1.1 million, then you don't have to buy the property. But anyway, in that case, you still need to rent the property, right? Look for problematic and rundown properties. Every problem can be solved. There's a solution to every financial assets, including properties. And I know this goes against the grain of normal practice because, for example, in property investment, most people use their heart rather than their head. They fall in love with the property. They did not fall in love with the numbers. They focus on the investment. They did not focus on the financial results. So I love to buy horrible looking property. Now people say, are you stupid? Why do you do that? Think about it. When there's a horrible looking property, it means that the owner don't love the property. If they don't love the property, chances are they'll sell you at a low price. And during a crisis, and when they're desperate enough, they will sell you at an even lower price. Pursue new opportunities and possibilities. During a crisis, there are many interesting ways to invest that can help you to generate better returns. So, for example, you can invest, in a new career, in a new company, and work for MNCs, for example, or a new company that's just arrived in Singapore. I just had a meeting, with a company that, they're trying to set up their office in Singapore. And there are many companies like this, whether in Singapore or any other countries, and probably they recognize your talent and willing to pay you more. Look for silver lining in every cloud, even in a dark night. For example, during this pandemic, we went from a traditional brick and mortar business and became an online business. And as a result, we were able to present our products and services to more people than we have ever done since we started the company. And we were able to have more customers in more companies than we have ever done for many years since we started the company. Study sectors that are not impacted by the volatile market or the economic downturn. So, for example, in our company, we target what we call the novo entrepreneurs or novo investors. So there are a lot of people who are high net worth individuals, who are rich entrepreneurs, who are successful investors. They're served by many parties. We look for the next generation of upwardly mobile executive. We look for the children of some of these well-to-do family, and then we provide essentially good service to them, mentor them, and help them to improve their skills, help them to improve their financial position assets. And by doing that, we went into what they call a blue ocean market. And then we were able to grow fast enough to be recognized as one of the fastest growing company in our country. In Financial Times, recognized us as one of the 74 companies to look out for in our country. Now, every time when there are challenges, when there is turbulent and volatile market, there will be desperate sellers of all kinds of assets. I remember there was one crisis. A very good friend of mine bought a Rolls Royce, which was worth more than $1 million, and he bought it for $80,000. And I'm not suggesting you go and do the same thing. Please don't buy toys, that give you fleeting pleasures, but doesn't give you long-term sustainable returns. But during such hard times, there will be a lot of interesting businesses, interesting companies, interesting stocks and shares, and interesting properties that are available at a very low price. Find distressed and undervalued assets. So in a short while time, I will invite you to a masterclass and show you what are some of the opportunities available, especially during this time. During a downturn, I always say prepare for an upturn. It's not going to go down forever. All this will come to pass. The sun will rise again, and those who are prepared, those who are ready, will be able to capitalize, on the upturn of the market. So rich and wealthy people, they love risk. Why? Because if there are no risks, there are no opportunities. But they learn to prepare for the risk, preempt the risk. They learn to proactively respond to the risk. They learn how to not only calculate the risk, they learn how to manage and control their risk. Profit from new markets, new businesses, and new areas of growth. Recently, I invested in a blockchain company. Why? Because I think blockchain is eventually going to be part and parcel of every company. Most of the processes, most of the systems will be run on blockchain technology. And this includes everything from a multinational company to even a small business. So I invested in blockchain technology that's able to disrupt many of the mainstream financial services. And by doing so, I know that this company will do well eventually. Capitalize on niche and gaps. There will always be areas that people are not looking at. There'll be areas that are not being covered. There'll be areas that are not being well matched. There'll be unserved market you can capitalize on to help you to improve your success rate. Leverage on economic recovery to forge ahead. So we know that the hard times will come to an end. In Singapore, our Prime Minister have already said that by the end of the year, they are confident they can tame inflation. Hopefully next year, we'll see the sun rise all over again. But don't wait till then to prepare yourself to forge ahead. Start today. Now, I want to just conclude by saying this. Philosophically, volatile market are actually some of the best times in your life. I always ask my students when they stay with me, in what we call a boot camp at the end of the year, one of the exercises that we do is to ask them to plot the high and low point of their life. Which are the moments when they are happiest? Which are the moments when they are saddest? Which are the moments when they're most successful? Which are the moments when they fail badly? And I ask them, at what points in your life do you change the most? Do you transform the most? Do you take yourself to a higher level of growth? And very interestingly, a lot of people looking back, including myself, we will say it is during the time when we are sad, we are downtrodden, when we feel that it forces us to contemplate, to think, what should we do? How can we do better? So this turbulent market is a time to force us to search deep in our soul and to think of how we can refresh and reform and redesign and rejuvenate ourselves and our team and our organization. This is also a time for transformation. All of us need to start life anew every now and then. We all need new beginnings. We need to put things behind us and think of how to restart our journey, restart our life, restart our businesses, restart our career, restart our organization, restart life all over again. And for me, volatile market is a good time for illumination, for us to be enlightened, to live at a higher plane of meaning, purpose, and fulfillment. Okay, I have some good offers for every one of you. I cannot cover everything in this very short webinar. So I'm going to organize a property investment masterclass free of charge. and I'll be looking at how to buy the right property, and retire early and retire rich. And so I'll be covering things like how do you discover the next property hotspots, and where do you invest in so that you can get the best property at below market value. How do you make a passive income, a 5-figure or 4-figure passive income, without incurring, some of these cooling measures. I will also be organizing, and by the way, this is the site for you to join the masterclass if you're interested. So we have 2 sessions. We have a webinar session. It will be on 8th of September 2022 on Thursday at 8 p.m. So the registration link is there. The QR code is there. We will also be organizing a physical in-person session. So those of you who are still concerned or who love webinar session, the top one is for you. Those of you who want to meet me personally, who want to share with me your concerns, who want somebody to answer your question one-on-one, we have we have a physical session on the 15th of September 2022, also on Thursday. It's at 7 p.m. So the link is there. Our office is at Novena Square. Is 2388 Thompson Road, Office Tower A. We are on 13th floor, 1308. So this is our postal code for those people who are driving. We have a train station beneath our building. We have a taxi stand in front of our building. We have also a major bus stop in front of us. So we have bonuses for those people who are attending. So these are Grab vouchers we were offering people who are taking their Grab to come to attend this physical session. So take a photograph of this slide here. Go to a QR code and register. I hope to either see you online or meet you face to face, so that we can cover many things. Okay, if you go to chat group, we also have posted. If you are unable to make these days, you're not free on this date, please contact us at admin@gax-academy.com. So go to a chat group. There is a link there. You can write to us and say, I'm not free on 8th of September. We will try and organize another session for those people who are busy on that day itself. Okay, and we also want to offer you a one-on-one, what we call strategic asset fine-tuning and enhancement planning session. Is worth $5,000. So essentially, we'll meet you, our consultant will meet you and your loved ones, maybe your husband, your wife, and then spend 3 hours or even more, to go through your financial position and your assets, and then show you the various options for you to take yourself from where you are until you achieve financial freedom. Just to mention to all of you, we are not financial planner, we are not insurance agent, we are not MLM distributors. This is offered to you as part of our service, and also to thank you for joining me on this live session. So start learning from someone who is where you want to be. So we have many success stories. We have many people in the room. They have taken themselves from wherever they are, very similar to where you are right now, and achieve great success. You'll meet all of them, and they'll be more than happy to sit down with you and share with them the success story on a one-on-one basis. Okay, so I look forward to seeing all of you. These are the offering that we have for you. I hope to meet up with you, and I hope we can develop a friendship with you. And I hope to be able to go along with you on this lifelong learning journey. Because if you want to learn, you can never improve and get better results. But if you want to learn, there will always be a trainer, a coach, a mentor to help you, basically. So there is this free property investment masterclass. I'm going to put this tag all over again. Please go to the QR code or go to a link. Join us either online or join us in a physical class. And after the physical class, we will arrange on a one-on-one session between you and our consultant, and they will share with you how to take yourself from where you are until you achieve financial freedom. And when you do that, you live the best of life. You give the best of life to yourself and to your loved ones. You can do whatever you want to do, enjoy whatever you enjoy, achieve whatever you want to achieve. More importantly, when you are financially successful, you can do so much more for the poor, the needy, and the disadvantaged, you can make this world a better place to live in. I'll see you either online or in class.